2 now. This court's responsibility is the appellate jurisdiction. So as I was saying, the High Court has got two responsibilities listed in the Constitution, the original jurisdiction and the appellate jurisdiction. So here is the final court of appeal in Australia. Cases can come from any of the lower courts. So this is a chart that sort of shows the states and territories. I'll pass this around and you can have a look. So if a case starts in the lower court, can go to the Supreme Court, then the Supreme Court of Appeal, and ultimately to the High Court. And then from the federal court side, so we have a parallel federal court system as well that deals with the Commonwealth laws, that can also have cases come to the High Court as well. But not all cases end up at the High Court. The threshold is quite high and strict in that the appellant needs to really outline the case in a 10-page document outlining the point of law and also the questions they're asking the case. We are not revisiting the case in its entirety. The lower courts have done that, called witnesses, looked at evidence and made a decision. It's an appeal about law. If some form of miscarriage of justice has happened or the case is now of national significance, and the High Court will have a look at that as well. So same sort of setup as what we saw downstairs. The only difference is that there are 5 justices here of the 7. The Chief Justice is the common denominator. He will always be present. And then he will pick 4 others to come with him. And that can change from case to case. So today, the 5, and then tomorrow different people may be here. And also, if the Chief Justice deems the case to be of national significance, he may increase it from 5 to 7. And we can sit 7 justices here. There are 7 microphones. And if the case has even drawn a lot more public attention, then the Chief Justice may also instruct us to have the case dealt in Court 1, which can house a lot more people with the 7 justices. So in terms of the design of the building, lots of interconnectivity was thought that if this happens, then what can we do? And if that happens, what can we do? So a lot of thought went into making sure the building works properly for everyone. Another design feature is that the people seated at the back row, their eye level, so those guys in the last row, your eye level is the same as our justices. So that's a very important design feature, that we are all equal in this court. Nobody is higher. If you look at other jurisdictions, the judges are sitting high up and the people are further down. So you are always being looked down. But in both of our courts, the design principle was used that the furthest person, their eye level is the same as the justice. So we are seeing eye to eye. Down here in the well is the same sort of setup as before, barristers instructing solicitors and then the member of public. In here, in the courtroom 1, we had the first 3 justices. Then these justices are, the Chief Justices from numbers 2 through to 6 that presided outside of Canberra. They were not justices in Canberra because there was no building here. So for the first 40 years, the High Court lived in borrowed court premises in Melbourne largely, because Melbourne was deemed the administrative capital of the new Commonwealth. And then they moved to Sydney for a while, and there was a back and forth. They also worked out of Brisbane as well. And then ultimately in 1971-72, the Chief Justice at the time really pressured the government to say, our Constitution says that the seat of the High Court will be in Canberra. Where is it? And he then pushed that agenda with the government to say, we really need to build a High Court of Australia in Canberra because the Constitution says so. So then the government gave $43 million and this piece of land to build the High Court. It went to a international competition. We received 109 or so design ideas. Of that, it was narrowed down to about 9, and in the final briefing of the design, 3 companies pulled out, so there were only 6 left from 109 down to 6, and the winning firm was from Sydney, Milano Briggs Telizzo were the firm. They won the design competition, and then they went on to do the final drawings of the building. They also won the design for the gallery next door, the National Gallery. So both buildings were built together with a construction sort of site in the middle of the two. So some they'll work here and then go and work on the other one and so on, because Canberra winter is very cold and you can't pour mass concrete and hoping it to dry quickly. So they would work on that side and come back here. So construction was 5 years, opened in 1980, and 45 years later, here we are. What you see here is original. Everything in this courtroom is how it looked back in 1980. So the seats you're sitting is original back from 1980. The leather is also original from 1980, 45 years old. You can't find leather now for your lounge at home to last 10 years, let alone 45 years. The High Court selected 7 species of timber from across Australia, from the entire continent. The timber on the front is red tulip oak. They are from Queensland. They took veneers out and they made it into those panels, and then they lined the panels up as closely as possible. Some of the grains match each other. And then they put those slots in for the acoustics. Behind the slots are a Hessian material followed by a dense foam that absorbs the sound. On the bench of the High Court is one of the hardest timbers in Australia, the Western Australian Jarrah, and they use that timber specifically for the purpose that it is a timber that will stay true to the test of time. It won't warp or bend or do anything because it is where justice is going to be delivered from. And the same timber was used here on this long table, the barrister's table, and then this timber is from Tasmania, Tasmanian blackwood. These tables were smaller, and then back in 1980 they decided to make sure that we could sit 2 barristers side by side if there were more legal personnel coming. So we just made the table a little bit longer. It used to be about 1 metre, but they made this one 1.6 metres. So that's a new addition, but a replacement of the original one in the same timber type. At the back here, timber is used from Victoria, Victorian ash, and from Tasmania, Tasmanian oak. They're the same species of timber, but because they grow in different regions, the colouring can be different. But this is sort of all the ash and oak type timber. So yeah, that's all I have for this court. Any questions? Yeah. Yeah.
How long the justice serve?
Sorry?
How long the justice serve, and how many cases do you handle in a year?
Okay, so our justices
70.
are required to retire at 70. So our Chief Justice, for example, is 66. He had his birthday in July this year. So he's got just under 4 years to go. So 6 months from his retirement, he will obviously tell the Governor, not the Governor General, the Attorney General, that his term is coming up and he's going to retire, and then that process of selecting a new Justice and Chief Justice will start. The government will start that. In terms of your second question, for a small nation like Australia, we believe we punch well above our weight in terms of the number of cases that come to the High Court. In the Constitutional Court downstairs, we see about 20 to 25 cases a year, constitutional cases. And in this court, in the appellate jurisdiction, anything from 40 to 50 cases a year. So all up, about 70 cases. So for 7 justices, that's a significant workload, because they have to, in a month, 2 weeks of hearing, and then 2 weeks of reading and judgment writing on 7 cases. So they have to deliver on 9 or 10 cases per month. So that's quite a high workload. And for tomorrow in Brisbane, for example, the Chief Justice will deliver 6 decisions. And then next week, when they're sitting in Canberra, they will deliver another 3 decisions. So in a month, 9 decisions will be handed down, which is about the volume of the cases we do per month anyway. A lot of people think that coming to the High Court, it takes forever, for a long time, but we really pride ourselves in our timeliness that if a case is lodged with the High Court, the turnaround time is generally 3 months. First month is when the application is handed, a decision is made, whether it's accepted or not, and then a date is given in the following month, and the case is heard. Then 4 to 6 weeks later, a decision is handed. So the machinery of justice operates rather efficiently at the High Court anyway. I can't say the same for the other courts, but for the High Court it is quite swift. Sorry, yep.
So what are the top 3 cases that you had the justices handle, and do you have like a sentencing guidelines here in Australia?
So the court doesn't really give sentencing, this court doesn't, it just gives directions as to the questions asked of how to interpret the law, whether the law was interpreted correctly in the lower courts, and it gives instructions whether to retry the case in the lower court. So we don't really hand out a verdict per se in this court, it's just answer some questions on point of law.
Yep. You already mentioned about the number of the justices, especially about the appeal case. But still, I have one question. How the chief choose another 4 justices? Probably the potential question is there any political chosen? Because somehow the case probably going very politics somehow. Is it possible to do that?
So our justices pride themselves on being apolitical, so not aligned to any particular political view. The second is conflict of interest, so the Chief Justice would know from his 6 justices whether a justice has any conflict of interest if a case is coming and their brother-in-law is the owner of the business, so he will recuse themselves. So all those considerations would happen in the Chief Justice's mind as to which 4 come for that case. So conflict of interest is very important for us. We will remove justices if that is the case. Political association or anything that the Chief Justice may know, and also the skill set.
How about if there are 3 justices have conflict of interest?
Then we have to, because that's a significant number, we have to now look at each of those conflict of interest and work out a mitigation strategy on which one of those 3 would be the least damaging. So whichever one is the most damaging will be removed, the second most damaging will be removed, and the third one will probably sit at the bench, but with certain undertaking.
The last one, very stupid question.
No, it's not a stupid question.
The shape of the wall.
The shape, yes.
Yeah, the timber.
Yeah.
It's not really precision. 3 1 1 1 3 1 3. There is any story about that?
I don't know, sorry mate. I will take that on notice.
Yeah.
I will refer that to the building operations manager and ask exactly what you asked me. Why is that? Couldn't people count or they got it wrong? But the panels that are raised are what we call service panels. Behind them, so panel number 4, number 8 and number 10 has got servicing in it. Electrical, telecommunication, air conditioning are plumbed through there, which is why they are pushed out a little bit. So is that satisfactory, or should I? Yeah, sorry.
How long does a hearing typically last?
A day. Most of our cases are assigned a full day. And then after that, decisions handed down anything from 4 to 6 weeks later.
So they don't need more than a day?
No. The Chief Justice is very particular on time, and you would know he's getting annoyed when he does that.
Oh.
If you see the Chief Justice doing that, that means something is wrong. These guys will know the Chief Justice is not happy if he's sitting there and he does that. So they better hurry up.
Oh.
That's what we have learned in the mannerism of our Chief Justice. But if he will also have a joke. The other day with the Russian Federation case, the opening remarks by the lead counsel was that we are running a book on how this, like a book as in bookmaker, on gambling, on how this case will turn out. And the Chief Justice goes, so who won? Big laughter. You know, in a court of this type where matters are very serious, there is also jovial moments as well. So we all kind of then, you know, realize we're all human beings and we can interact and be pleasant to each other as well. Yep.
Does High Court handle election cases? If so, is the result of a constitutional case?
Yeah. So courtroom number 3 is the responsibility of court or dispute return is residing in the High Court for federal elections, not for state elections. So earlier this year in May, we had a federal election and there were a couple of seats that were in dispute. Ultimately, one seat was referred to the High Court, being the Court of Dispute Return. The judges received that dispute. It was a electorate in Sydney, Bradfield, where the result was very close. On first count, it went with the incumbent. On second count, it went with another lady, won by 22 votes. And then on third count, it went back to the incumbent. Then Then they said, we'll challenge this in the court. They sent their scrutineers and they found 150 ballot papers where the writing was not legible. A 1 looked like a 7 and a 3 looked like an 8. So whether they intended to write 3 or 8, it was not clear. So then the matter was referred to the High Court. The High Court said, this isn't about a point of law, it's just about sloppy handwriting of people. So then we referred the case back to the federal court in Sydney because the case, the electorate was in Sydney, so it went back to the federal court where they will deal with the case. So because there was no point of law to answer, the High Court said it's not ours to deal with. But you're right, it is, we do handle disputes from elections, but only for Commonwealth elections, not for state elections.
Is there any specific qualification for someone to be nominated as a judge here?
So our constitution spells out the requirements. 2 things. One, that they have practiced as a barrister in the country, and then also have been a Supreme Court justice. So when the Attorney General is asking for nominations, the minimum they could nominate, the states and territories could nominate, is a Supreme Court justice or a federal court justice as well. So that's kind of the minimum threshold that they need to have attained before they could be nominated.
Is there any case in which the judge is dismissed before the retirement?
It will take an act of the Parliament, and that's also spelled out in our constitution. That something serious has been done by the said justice, that then it would take an act of Parliament and be passed in Parliament for the Governor-General then to remove the person.
Is there any such case in the past panel?
No, it has not happened, no. Yep, sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, why the symbol, the coat arm of Australia is kangaroo and emu?
These 2 animals are deemed to be forward-moving. They do not go backwards. Human beings can walk backwards, but kangaroo and emu never go backward. They will always go forward, and if they need to go backward, they will turn around and then go in that direction. But they don't have the ability to do that. That's the symbolism of it, that it's two animals that are forward moving all the time, as should the nation be always forward moving.
Because I thought it would be kangaroo and koala.
It'd be too cuddly then.
It's not based on your preference.
That was the logic, that those 2 animals that cannot move backwards. Yeah, they don't have a reverse gear. It's the forward gear.
Nice.
Yeah. Sorry.
Are there any events of contempt of court?
Sorry?
Are there any events of contempt of court here, based on your experience?
No, because when the court is sitting, we are quite well staffed by security personnel. So we have the Australian Federal Police, armed. that will be stationed outside. They have an office where they can see what's happening in the court. So if there's any issues, the court crier will be the first person to alert them, and the police will be arriving here very quickly. We also have our security guard that you saw when they were screening people, so they will be available as well as our 2 marshals that are seated inside the court. They'll be in plain clothes. You won't know who they are. I know who they are because I work with them, but they'll be seated anywhere here when the case is going. So 1 marshal will always be present in the court in case there is some unruly behavior. So either the senior marshal or the deputy marshal will be in the court at all times. So if one goes for a break, then the other one must be in the court.
Are you still conducting online trial?
No. Yeah, I mean, there were cases that took very long time to process in the court, so the court decided to do a lot of things in writing. So a lot of submissions are done in writing, and then the court only allows the 1 day for hearings at the High Court. How are we going with time?
Thank you very much.
No, we're not finished yet. Where are you going?
I will give you another thank you after that.
So I would like to now take you guys to courtroom number 3.
Election court.
And then I'll tell you a little bit about the 2 portraits. And then you should be free to move around if you have time. Other than that, we'll finish things off there.